Hi, and thanks for watching another video by weldingtipsandtricks.com. Last video we did, we talked about horizontal lap joint, a little technique where you make little loops or ocean waves or a series of U's, whatever you want to call them, and how that's a good technique for doing lap joints, horizontal joints, overhead joints. It's a very useful technique for doing any joint like that. We also talked about how there's not much difference between pulling and pushing. I just pulled that one there, and then I did a little bit of a example of the same joint, but pushing the puddle instead of pulling it. And we talked about how as long as you kept the stick out correct and didn't get carried away with the angle, that both were good. Sometimes you had to push, sometimes you had to pull. That's just the way it is in the real world. You can't always push and you can't always pull. Okay, this week we're gonna talk about a little technique for vertical MIG welding, vertical uphill, that is. So this basically amounts to a series of triangles. It almost looks like I'm making little circles here, and actually might be, but in my mind I'm making a triangle where I'm cutting across the leading edge of that puddle and straight across, and just progressing up a little bit. And the way I'm progressing up a little bit is I'm making sure that the arc comes across the leading edge of the puddle each time it passes across. I'm actually giving you a perspective of two different welds here. That's why it looks a little bit different. And you can see when I pull the lens away here, the front edge of the puddle kind of looks like the tip of a triangle, and you want to take that arc, right, just trace that front edge of the puddle and then come straight across. The puddle will actually push you up without you even knowing it. You don't have to intentionally take big steps because the puddle is building on itself, and if you just cut that arc across the front edge of the puddle each time you come across, you will progress the weld at a pretty good rate. Again, think in your mind's eye as a little series of triangles, and don't pause very long at either one. You can just bounce from tip to tip to tip, three-point triangle, and it will take you up in a nice progression. Now we're going to look at a little downhill weld, downhill vertical. A little bit different technique. This is almost like the horizontal technique, where we're just kind of doing a series of loops, so to speak. Works good on all kind of vertical downhill lap joints or T-joints. If you're building a rack at an angle iron, at a 3/16 wall angle iron, this is a really good technique to use. Downhill welding just does not penetrate like uphill welding. It just won't. I don't care how hot you weld it, you're not going to get the kind of penetration that you get going uphill. Okay, and here's the technique. Basically, it's just very much like we did on the example on the horizontal lap. And I'm just going to snap this one to show you. This doesn't take much stress to pop a downhill weld. As much as I tried, and this was set at the same setting as going uphill, as much as I tried to point the arc into the corner and bite into new metal each time I came across, it just didn't penetrate much. Uphill's better.